What's the dog's name?
Max. Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking. Is he okay?
Wolfie's fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine.
Welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie.
Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a retro podcast dedicated to the pop culture of the 80s, 90s and zeros. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
And as you just heard there, we are joined by a very special guest, a person who used to own a video rental store, had an illustrious career as a bouncer in Philadelphia, and starred as Dookie in a series of Budweiser commercials that ran from 1999, which became a pop culture phenomenon all over the world. And there is only one way we can greet Mr. Scott Martin Brooks, and that is just for all of us to say, "What's up?"
What's that?
What's that?
What's up?
What's up? That's the British ad.
Boo,
He said, "What's up?"
What is up?
Sorry.
Boo, Steve, boo.
You're correct. You're
He
correct to boo me. That's fine.
Puts a T in that.
Well, as
What
you...
is going on?
Yeah.
What's all this about then?
What's all this then? Yeah.
That's pretty good, Scott.
What,
Impressive.
they did it. I told you, Monty Python. I grew up with them. But what was the international one that they did? It was How's About Ye? Is that Irish or Scottish? How's About Ye?
How's about you? I don't know, actually.
Yeah, I think it's either
Okay.
British. Scottish or Irish. Yeah, because they were wearing
Sounds Scottish.
jersey, what we call soccer, what you guys call football jerseys.
Yeah, I do not know.
I don't know if it aired. I don't know if it aired over there, but they did this one where the international version of What's Up, where all these different countries had their version of What's Up. You know, Konnichiwa.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. How's about ye and all that. Yeah.
It's not quite got the same ring to it, really, does it?
No.
No, but it was funny.
Yes. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Scott, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to come and talk to us retrobates. We really appreciate it, mate.
Retrobate's my favorite kind of people. Thanks for
Phew.
thanks for asking.
Remember that. But I mean, if anyone's listening that's still a little bit puzzled on who you are, can you enlighten them a little bit?
I dropped out of college after my first year. Remember, kids? And I asked my best friend and I asked our families to borrow some money, and we opened up a video store. And I did that for 4 years instead of college. And I was the general manager, the buyer. I did everything, advertising, all of it. Ran the store. And then after the store closed, I started bouncing because I just needed a job. And so I ad in the paper and I answered it and I ended up getting the job. So I started, did they call it bouncing over there?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I started bouncing in nightclubs and bars in downtown Philadelphia. And that turned into like a 10-year career. And that's what I was doing when the audition for the Budweiser commercial came up. So my best friend growing up, he became a director and he was doing music videos. You probably saw a few of them on MTV and such back then. He wanted to branch out into feature films, so he made this short film. And when he started making it, he called me and told me, he's like, "Yo, it's based on that thing we used to do when we were teenagers." Because that was a thing that we used to do. It just kind of evolved into that from us saying hello to each other. He did this short film. His manager at the time entered it into film festivals. So an executive from, what was it called? DDB Chicago, which is an advertising agency that happened to have Anheuser-Busch as one of their clients. An exec from DDB saw the short film and a little light bulb went off over his head. And I actually happened to be over at Chuck's apartment in New York, in Brooklyn, on the day when Anheuser-Busch called him. And they wanted to make a deal to turn his short film into a commercial. Like, I remember he took the call, he came back in the next room, he's like, yo, that was Budweiser. You want to turn the short into a commercial? I was like, are you going to do it? He went, yeah, I think so. So he made a deal to, use the concept, but then also hire Chuck as the director of the commercial, which was fantastic. They were holding auditions. Now, I wasn't an actor. I had never done anything. Some plays when I was a kid and a teenager locally, and that was it. And, some stuff playing around with Charles when he was, because he went to film school and all that stuff. But I'd never done anything professionally. So he called me and said, yo, I need you to come up for an audition this Thursday. I hopped on the train, went up to New York City, auditioned, got what they call a callback, got a callback. And at the end of the day, I think they auditioned 250 actors to try and cast the commercial. And like one of the executives said, it was really hard to find somebody to do such a simple thing correctly. Like, I've seen some of the audition tapes, and it's hilarious, the interpretation that some people had of doing this thing. So after the callbacks, I found out that all of us, the friends from Philadelphia, the originals who were in the short film, ended up getting the commercial.
Amazing.
So everybody you see in the commercial were actually friends in Philly. We all grew up together, and Chuck cast everybody in the short film, and then they ended up just putting them in the commercial. And then everything exploded from there.
It's really cool that you meant, because I didn't know that you were all mates. You all kind of knew each other, and I guess that really helped with the chemistry in the adverts, I guess, on set. And I guess that probably helped the adverts completely just come across to the audience in a much better way.
You would think so, yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of, I find the idea of any of you not being cast in that kind of, like, that's kind of galling, right? Like, I'm surprised to hear that there were auditions, but it's delightful that it worked out the way it did, and that actually it was the original people doing it anyway, because, like, that was you guys, right?
Fred had a great line where he's like, did you say audition? You want me to audition to play myself?
Right? Wow.
But Anheuser-Busch's original idea was to have a multicultural cast to appeal to as many people as possible. And
okay.
But then after we got in the room, they saw us and scrapped that whole idea.
Was there anyone in the audition who was worse at doing it than I was at the beginning of this podcast?
Oh, well, worse than you?
Mm-hmm.
There were absolutely some bizarre ones, yes. Yes.
I think they go into an audition process and they just kind of overthink it, and then they over-egg it, and then it just comes off incredibly awkward and unnatural and just
forced.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised.
I mean, it's totally understandable that, you just read these words on the paper and you don't know that it had a specific, way of being said. And so you're just reading what's up on the paper. Mm-hmm. And so as an actor, you interpret that the way you interpret it, and everybody's trying to be different and funny and catchy and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it does make for very entertaining audition tapes.
But it's like you said earlier, when you've got a few mates who have known each other since childhood, doing an advert about mates who have known each other since childhood hanging out, it sells it better than that awkward, forced, atmosphere. You're just literally hanging out, you just happen to have a script on your lap.
Right.
It's just and it was quite formative, because if I remember rightly, we were in our last year at school, Rich.
We were. I even remember watching them on the internet.
It was
high school.
Late. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we had a late period, and we used to. This is going to sound extremely nerdy. We used to stay for an extra hour and a half playing Counter-Strike, and your adverts went viral around our school within a day.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is this? And we're like, oh my God. And then it went everywhere. And then the next thing we knew...
Pre-YouTube, watching it on QuickTime Player.
Yeah.
It's just a good old days.
QuickTime Player, I have to download the raw video. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's interesting. Okay.
Go to a website and, find the QuickTime embedded or download it. And
so you had to work for it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say
that effect on us,
your advert made 5 minutes of Scary Movie actually palpable.
Wow.
We were in a limo in Los Angeles going from one thing to another. I don't remember what it was when our manager got the call from Keenan Ivory Wayans asking if it was okay to do that bit. And we were like, what? Yeah, please do it.
Was you happy with the outcome?
Yeah, no, it's, I'm happy with it because people love it. You know, if you watch that clip on YouTube now and you read the comments, there's people of a certain age who don't even realize it came from the commercial. They think it originated. So they loved it in Scary Movie, not even realizing it came from somewhere else. They just thought it was a funny little aside that the Wayans came up with, which I think is hilarious. You know, but it shows the strength of the bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
When the mask changes to having its tongue out.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Do you mind?
Yeah.
If you don't, can we just back up slightly, Scott, if you don't mind? You said that you dropped out of college to open a video rental store. I feel like that was you just sort of said that real casually, like it's something people do all the time. Like, how did that come about? Like,
I never said that.
Did you not say that?
No, I'm kidding.
Is there a gas leak in my room? Did I imagine that? What's going on?
What's your question?
That long
Chris?
drive, Steve.
What's your question, Steve?
How did the idea of opening a video rental store come about, Scott?
I don't know. So I hated school, and my best friend, he dropped out of school also. So I guess he hated school too. And we were sitting around in his house watching TV, and he came to me and he said, listen, my boss is liquidating one of his stores because he worked for this guy who had like 3 stores. He said he's liquidating one of his stores and he wants to know if I want to take over the lease. I'm like, okay. He's like, let's think of a business to put in there. And we literally sat there for maybe 5 minutes just saying businesses. Laundromat, dry cleaner, and then just like, nah. And then I think it was him that said video store. And we both went, huh, because we both loved movies, you know. So it was literally just us shouting out words until one of them stuck with both of us. And then studying and finding out how to open a video store. And I got lucky. I found this company out in the suburbs who had these packages where they would do it all for you. You know, however much money you had, they would put together a package of films for you that a cross-section of everything, horror, comedy, adventure, and then do like a little 3-day seminar on how, because the business was still relatively new back then. And so they gave a little seminar and here's how you open a video store. And so we just did everything they told us to do and opened the store. And we're in an area that was something of a video store desert. There was nothing for a couple of miles. So we had a captive audience.
Awesome.
You know, we got lucky. We got lucky in a lot of ways.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways you got lucky, but you did put the hard work into shouting out random things for 5 minutes. Which, you know, that's so credit is due there as well. Was it good? Did you have a good time? Did you enjoy that? Like, how did that work out?
I genuinely loved it. I don't know. I still would have been doing something like that, but now I got this on good. What's the phrase?
Authority.
I can't remember it right now, but I got this. What's that?
There's good authority, or
on good authority.
Thank you.
There you go.
I got this on good authority. I'm not awake yet. And that. So there were 2 major video chains in Philadelphia at the time, and my girlfriend at the time worked for one, and one of my movie distributors at the time started working with the other one. So he came to me. And because I used to buy a lot of stuff from this guy. And he's like, listen, I got to be honest with you. I put some money into a new video store that's going to be opening up pretty soon. And we're going to open 1 block away from you. And it was a major chain. It was going to crush us. And then my girlfriend let me know that my boss is going to open up a video store half a block down the street from you in the other direction from the other one. So we were about to get crushed. But because of that insider information, we were able to close up and liquidate and get out of there before we lost any money. Mm-hmm. So otherwise, I think we would have just kept going.
That's as good an ending as you could have had, I suppose, really. You were
Absolutely.
forewarned. You were forewarned of the pincer movement that you were about to be in.
Absolutely. We'd already paid back our loans. Everything was profit at that point. We weren't getting rich, but we were making a living. It was comfortable. It was cool. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Were they blockbusters? Is that what they opened up around the corner?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was one was called West Coast Video.
I'd heard of it, yeah.
And the other one was called I don't know if West Coast or the other one. I think the other one was just regional. What were they called? I can't remember them anymore. It was a regional chain started in the area, but they were much bigger than us. So that's how I decided to open up a business.
Can I ask, what was the buzz running and working in a video rental store? Because you see it in films and TV, and they put that lovely sheen on it. And working in a video store was one of my dream jobs as a kid. But as we graduated from high school, broadband internet had come in, DVDs had come in. By the time we got old enough, we didn't have any. They all started to shut down. What was that feeling in the atmosphere of working in that store, being able to just be in that environment?
That's an interesting question. So when we had our store, I don't know how to put this delicately, we were in a disadvantaged inner city neighborhood. So there wasn't a lot up there. And like I said, we were the only game in town as far as that stuff was concerned. So we became like a little community hub. Yeah. We had everybody coming to our store. We had, blue collar working parents, and we had quite a few drug dealers that were members of our store too. So it ran the entire gambit. And like we had customers that were so cool with us and so comfortable with us that they would walk behind the counter, pick out the movies that they wanted, and just give us the money and leave. And we're like, all right, well, see you in 2 days, and it was fine, because we had developed that kind of, rapport with them, that kind of relationship with them. We had this one dude that I didn't know what he did for the longest, but he would come in and rent like 4 movies and then disappear for months. And then he would come in with the movies and a wad of cash and pay the late fees. And can I get 4 more? And we were like, yeah, sure. So,
knock yourself out.
So one day I asked him, I was like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a DEA agent and I go off on missions. He had he talked about he talked about an injury that he had where he couldn't lift his arm up above here because he had gotten shot in the shoulder in a firefight in a poppy field in South America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too would like some escapism every now and then if that was my life.
Right. I'm gonna tell this guy, no, you can't have any movies. We had a drug dealer return. So wait, it wasn't even him. This beautiful Puerto Rican girl comes walking in the store one day, and she puts like 4 movies down on the counter because we very rarely let anybody take that many movies. She's like, how much is this? And I looked it up and I saw who it was from. And I told her, I said, where's he been? She went, he had to go away. He said, but he called me and he told me, make sure the boys get their movies back and pay the late fees. And I was like,
that's lovely.
Boy. Like, you can rent free movies from now on after you get out.
Yeah.
Like,
that speaks so much about how much there was a community aspect. The fact that someone's going through something life-changing like that, but you're still on their checklist for things to be done before it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's quite humanising because you think those people are kind of like creepy monsters, but no, they're just normal guys. It's just a normal
they have
thing.
an unusual way of making an income. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a really, really good experience. And it's different for us because we were owners, so we're just splitting the profits. It's not like we were a couple of kids working for minimum wage. You know, it wasn't a slog for us. Like, I gotta go to work today. You know, we were the owners and we were the managers and everything. So it was a lot more fun for us than, you know, just some kid working in a video store.
Did you ever get the DEA agent come in at the same time as the drug dealer to both rent movies?
They're both on the same video as well, so there's only one copy of that.
Awesome. No, I never happened. How funny is that? That did happen in the nightclubs a lot, though.
Ooh.
What was your biggest rental where you had the store open?
You mean single movie or category?
Single movie.
I have no idea. But the biggest category was horror sci-fi, and adult was second.
Wow, adult was second.
Adult was second. One of my adult film distributors, because you don't get those movies from the same place that you get your Hollywood movies from. One of my adult distributors told me, he's like, I tell people from other video stores to come look at your adult section because you have curated one of the finest adult sections in all of Philadelphia. It's like, thank you very much. I'm very proud of my adult section.
Did you have it in a separate room behind the beaded curtain, or was it
before you?
Yeah. With a red light on in the corner. Yeah,
we had a separate room with a red curtain. Yeah,
nice.
Red velvet curtain.
Well, you'll be classy, you know. So,
thank you. I didn't quality check them, but my partner did. As soon as you would get them in, he would take them home that night. I'm like, Roger, can we make some fucking money off of these things before you take them home and watch them?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I tell you what, with streaming services, we really have lost something special, I think.
Yeah.
In the video rental shop.
Have you seen the documentary, The Last Blockbuster?
No, I haven't yet.
No, I haven't. No.
If you haven't, look it up. It is a great documentary, and it gives you that whole flavor of, you know, what it was like to rent movies in the 80s and 90s and everything. Really good. Yeah, The Last Blockbuster. It's about the last Blockbuster video store in, like, Seattle or something like that. I don't remember the city, but...
Oh, it's actually on ITVX over here. That's good.
Okay. Is that James Bond behind you, Chris?
What, personally?
In the flesh.
Chris, watch out!
Yes. I've got quite a few on the wall.
I was just watching Tomorrow Never Dies earlier.
Nice. Good choice.
Big part of my childhood, those films.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
It's one of those series, along with like Star Trek and Star Wars, I can close my eyes and hit play.
Same here.
Yeah, which one's Tomorrow Never Dies? Is that the one with the newspaper magnate guy?
Prince Philip.
Prince Philip.
I feel like obviously it's not newspapers these days. Like the medium has changed, but I feel like that's become more relevant. No?
Yeah,
information control and so on.
It's not dated that much, to be fair.
Well, see, at the time, I thought it was kind of an allegory for. You guys know William Randolph Hearst?
I know the name.
No, I know the name.
He was actually who Citizen Kane was based off of. He was a newspaper mogul in America in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and he was pretty famous for starting a war just so that he could, send reporters out there to report on it and sell papers. So yeah,
yeesh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which war?
Was it the Spanish-American War?
Gosh, one of the big ones.
Right.
Speaking of, we're on a bit of a tangent there, but sort of chilling out in nightclubs. How did you find your way into doing the Budweiser commercials? Like, how did that happen as organically as possible? Like, did it just fall in your lap, or did you have to seek it out or find it or search it, or?
Nope, fell in my lap because I happen to be best friends with the director. Yeah, I was bouncing in the nightclubs, and he got the deal with Anheuser-Busch to direct the commercials, and he put my name. So I don't know this stuff was all new to me. I don't know how much people know, and so I don't want to be redundant or boring or anything, but to be an actor in America, you have to have an agent, and that agent has to submit you for jobs, and then the casting person has to pick you, and then they notify your agent, okay, send him in for an audition. Now, this happens, on a much larger scale. It's not just you. You're in a room full of people that look just like you because, they want a specific type. So without that, you don't get auditions, at least not for big union gigs. You can get like non-union stuff and small things and independent things and student films or whatever, but you're not going to get major motion picture, television projects without an agent. There's no way for you to submit yourself. It can't happen. So he put my name on the audition list and told me. And so I had to come. Otherwise, my name never would have been on that list because I had no agent. I had no manager. I had nothing at the time. I wasn't connected to the business in any way other than through him. So he put my name on the audition list. I've never asked him, did he make up a phony agent? Because you have to put down the actor's name and what agency they're with and all that. So I've never asked him if he put down a phony agency, and told me to come up on a certain day at that time and where the studio was and everything. And they just ended up liking me. Like, we knew pretty early because one of the commercials was Girlfriend, where I'm sitting on the couch with my girlfriend and she's watching ice skating. After I auditioned, they brought me back in the room and they kept me in the room for like 45 minutes, and they kept bringing in actresses and having them audition with me. We went through like 20 girls, and the guys are out in the other waiting room going, "What's going on in there? Why do they keep bringing him women?" Like,
well, they're coming back out after a couple of minutes, It's just like
it's even worse.
That's not a statement on you, Derek. I apologize wholeheartedly.
Being, that's awesome. That's one I haven't heard. And me being like completely unknown to this whole business, I didn't understand what was going on or the significance of what was going on. They finally paired me up with this actress, D'Amica Hayes, and they said what they liked about it was that she was only 4'11" and I was about 260 pounds. So they liked the dichotomy of our sizes. So that's how that happened. They liked me for Dookie, and they liked the rest of the guys for the other roles.
Obviously, you went from working in video stores to bouncing. Obviously, the commercials really blew up. They became the nearest thing we had to like viral in the late 90s, early 2000s. What changed in your life when you actually kind of earned yourself a bit of a star and you got some actual fame? How did things change? What things came your way that wouldn't have come otherwise?
Everything that happened after that, literally. I tried to stay grounded and stay at work, but it was kind of impossible working as a doorman at a nightclub when you're like that famous. Yeah. I remember when the commercial first aired, my phone started ringing and all these people were calling me like, "Scott, there's this dude on television who looks just like you in this commercial." I didn't tell anybody. That I was doing it because I wanted to have as few people to explain to if like it all just blew up in my face, if it didn't happen. I didn't want to have to tell a bunch of people like, "Oh, this is what happened." So nobody knew until it hit the air. And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." Like, "No, it's not." But the guy does look like you. But yeah, after that, literally, it just started a whirlwind of stuff. I ended up hosting a television show on ABC for like a year and a half. I got an agent. I couldn't go out I tried going out for other commercials. I lost my agent told me at the time that I lost another campaign to Mr. T, but I was this close. But they said that the client said, "Well, we don't want people watching our commercial thinking of Budweiser beer." So they went with they went with Mr. T, and I'm like, "I'm not mad. I lost to Mr. T."
If you're going to lose a commercial to anyone, Mr. T's pretty good.
But yeah, it was a whole entree into the business. It changed my career completely. took me up significantly in my tax bracket. I was able to move into a much nicer place. And for a while there, work was just coming to me. Like I barely had to audition for stuff. I was getting calls saying, hey, we'd like to see you for this. We'd like to see you for that or whatever. So it literally just overnight, everything changed and became what it was.
You said that in the run-up to the commercial being aired, you told as few people as possible just in case, which is smart. Did you have a sense that it might not go right? Did you have a feeling that it might be a big success? Like, how did you feel about it before they aired?
Neither. I had no idea what to expect. I was so unconnected to that business and that world. Like, so I remember at the first audition hanging out with Paul and Fred afterwards, and Paul, we left together. We were all going to catch a cab and go out. And Paul goes, yo, I know this chick. She did a shoe commercial and she got like 20 G's for that joint. And we were like, oh, like so excited at the possibility of getting 20 G's, you know? But like I said, I just figured I would do this commercial. It would be on the air. People would see it. And I'd be like, ha, ha, ha. And I just keep working. You know, I had no idea. None of us had any idea that it was going to blow up the way that it did. No, not at all.
And what was your reaction when it did?
This is fun. I mean, I'd watched over here. We had this show VH1, Behind the Music. Every episode is the downfall of some major rock star. So I had that in the back of my head the entire time. This is going to end, and it's going to end suddenly, and it's not going to be good. So
just enjoy
let's
it.
Save your money. Yes, enjoy the ride, and don't get too crazy. So that's kind of how I was thinking of it.
But you still managed to. It was 12 commercials you did in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. Over the course of 3 years, we did 12 spots. I think like 3 of them never aired because of, Anheuser-Busch says they didn't air them because of 9/11 and people didn't want to laugh. So, and that was kind of the end of the campaign. 9/11 ended the campaign. And on that note...
I know, right? It's like, where do you go from there?
We've all got exceptionally quiet now. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I mean, I feel like that is the time you want to laugh, right? But I'm not an ad executive. I don't know.
Well, they came back in 2002 and they shot 2 or 3 more, and then that was it. Yeah, I forgot about those because it was a different director, different production company. Yeah, so our last ones were actually in 2002. My mistake.
Throughout the 12 adverts, was there a particular one that you filmed that was like your personal favorite?
Yeah, Pizza Guy, the one with Fred answering the doorbell constantly. That still makes me laugh whenever I see it. Yeah, I love Pizza Guy. Especially Fred's last, we're like, and the Pizza Guy. Bit of trivia. Since it's this kind of podcast, do you know who the Pizza Guy was in the commercial?
Ooh.
No.
No.
The actor who played Pizza Guy in the Budweiser commercials is Dr. Jonas Venture in the Venture Brothers.
Ooh.
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And he
bonkers.
wasn't at the time, but then I started watching Venture Brothers and I love that show. What an amazing, brilliant show. And I'm seeing the credits and I went, wait a second, that's James? Had no idea.
That's bonkers.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Exactly.
They do.
And what was the, did you personally come up with the wasabi ad?
So the story goes that Charles and the producer and a couple other folks went out to dinner one night after, like during the first shoot, because we shot three commercials at the same time the first time. Yeah. So we shot 5 commercials the first time. So we shot over the course of a week. And one of those nights they went out to dinner and they all tell the story the same way. They're at the restaurant. The waiter comes over, puts it down on the table and goes, wasabi. and they all just looked at each other and started laughing. So it just kind of wrote itself after that. So yeah, that's they all say the same thing, that's how that came about.
Wow.
And then that commercial ran. It was one of the big stadiums in New York City. I don't remember which one, Dodger Stadium or Yankee Stadium or whatever. They said that during the 7th inning stretch, every game they would play Wasabi. And so all these New Yorkers, would just yell it during the 7th inning stretch. And whenever I'd be in New York, people were like, hey, go Mets, or whoever it was. I don't know. And I had no idea what they were talking about because I'd never been to a game.
Was it as fun as it looked to do all of those ads and be involved in all of that stuff?
Yeah, because it was Chuck, Paul, and Fred. So it was a ball. Like, he did all the stuff that we used to do when we were kids, making these little shorts that he used to make. And he would just have us doing all this ridiculous stuff. And, the first day I showed, so Charles had this thing that he liked to do when we were like in high school, and he would make short films where whatever our action was or whatever the line was that we were saying, he would yell, harder. And so then we would have to say it louder and harder. It's like, I'm going to kill you. Harder. I'm going to kill you. Harder. So I showed up on set the first day, and he's shooting one of the doorbell scenes where the guy's at the doorbell, what's up? And he, from, his position as a director, is going like, all right, harder. And I just started laughing, and I blew the whole take. Because it immediately transported me back, and he just looks over and sees me out there and just nods like, yeah.
Just sabotaging his own gig, for funsies.
Yeah, harder.
Yeah, like we said, it's it came across on the screen, the chemistry you guys had between each of you. But do you guys still hang out?
We all live in different parts of the country now, but yeah, Paul, Fred, and I just got together recently. Well, we were together over the holidays.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's not that long ago. Yeah, Fred, he comes to town quite often. He lives out in Los Angeles now. He works for CBS. He comes to town, and whenever he comes to town, we get together. Paul lives not too far. So yeah, I still talk to the guys all the time.
Awesome.
Actually.
And do you have to refrain yourself from greeting each other with the WhatsApp, or
no, because we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, Jason.
So we don't have to refrain from it.
They're grown men. Come on, Jason.
It's a valid question.
Well,
My
I mean,
wife
we
still
were
calls
grown.
me a man-child.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, we were all grown back then too. So
Yeah.
Speaking of the adverts, I've just had to double check myself. I wasn't hallucinating, but there were so many copycat adverts that hit the internet on ebombsworld.com or Albino Black.
Oh wow, you remember them?
Do you guys remember the video game version?
No, I never saw that.
There was a Nintendo What's Up. I've just had to look it up to think.
Yeah.
And they had Duke Nukem playing Dookie.
Duke, jeez.
And
Yes.
I had to look it up because I thought I was going nuts. It's got Mario and Pikachu and Duke Nukem and just one of the random memories. I just had to wonder if anyone had seen it or remembered it.
I do remember that now. I'm sorry when you said video game version. It's better than the Super Friends version where I'm Wonder Woman. So, so yeah. Have you guys seen the one with the rabbis?
No.
Seems familiar.
No.
That's hilarious. That is funny. It's all Jewish rabbis calling each other, saying, "What's up?" I mean, shalom. Shalom.
I've not seen that.
Oh, look it up. It is
I'm
hilarious.
going to queue that up for later. Yeah.
Definitely will.
And it's
That's exactly
really
what
well
I'm
done. Like they put some money into that production, for nothing. It's not like it was for some product or whatever. It was just a parody video, and it's really funny. Really, that and the grandmas. Yeah, there's one with a bunch of old ladies who do it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And they actually have a bunch of old ladies doing it. So.
That's amazing. Okay.
Amazing.
Again, it's kind of the whole reaction. It was very kind of ahead of its time, really. Now you think about these things that go viral and everyone's trying to spoof, parody, imitate it in an affectionate way. And this is obviously over 20 years ago. So it's quite cool to see that. And something that seems so normal now, that was quite unique and ahead of its time at the time. So, yeah, you guys did a great job. You obviously brought a lot of people together. And
Yeah. I'm most proud of that part. We've often been called the first viral video of the new millennium.
I can see that.
Because you're the Star Wars kid, one or the other, It's
Star Wars
Who's
kid.
talking? Who's talking right now? Because you just dropped out on my end.
That was me. That was Rich. I was just saying it was either you or it was the Star Wars kid. That was the most viral video at the time.
Oh, yeah. Star Wars kid.
That poor man.
Yeah, we can't make fun of him. He had a pretty sad after story.
I'm pretty sure there's a happy ending for Star Wars Kid. I'm fairly sure there was a make good for that guy,
I think
right?
there was a court case and it was settled out of court, I believe, but
I think
he got a lot of damages awarded to him or something like that.
Okay.
So,
but they had to move and and if you bring it up to him, apparently he, just starts quivering and shaking. I don't know about that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I was choosing to believe there was a happy ending for Star Wars Kid. I want him to have a happy ending, I guess.
Steve wants the best for Star Wars Kid.
It's true, I do.
Is Steve regretting typing his name?
A little bit. Yeah.
I'm regretting bringing up the Star Wars Kid. So.
No, I appreciate the respect it's been given.
Well, you made me sign that piece of paper that said I had to pronounce it that way.
That was between you and me, mate. Shush.
Calling me out in public like this.
Guys, do you have any more questions on the Budweiser adverts for Scott before we move on?
Were you aware of how, because pretty big over here as well, were you aware of the international reach that thing had?
Absolutely. The Wassup guys did a tour of the UK.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Got pictures next to, what are they called? Beef eaters?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was only a day or 2 days in London, but did a tour of most English speaking UK. Is all of UK English speaking? Was that stupid?
It's meant to be English, but it kind of...
Wales,
from certain regions.
A lot of people speak Welsh in Wales. A lot of people speak Celtish in Ireland, but English is, that's the first language, yeah.
Right. But yeah, no, we were very, very aware that it was popular in other countries. That's one of the reasons why they did the commercial with the international version, because they heard about how popular it was in over the ocean. So yeah.
I was in sixth form at the time, which is kind of like a pre-college part of education, and
what'd you call it?
Sixth form. It's sort of like a post-high school, pre-college kind of space in education, and everybody at school was doing it all the time, constantly. It's difficult to overstate just how massive it was.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. Thank you. I still enjoy hearing that.
Yeah. And I was better at doing it back then myself as well.
The things that, like you said, me and Rich were in sixth form at the time as well, and at every house party that I went to, it would break out and it would be like a Mexican wave through the house. And I've been to quite a few house parties at college, but the ones when I was at school and someone started Wassupping people down the stairs, you knew it was just going to chain reaction. Yeah,
I should have come over there and started doing television over there at the time. I wish I'd thought of that.
It proves something that the international versions I don't remember at all, but I remember the American original version.
I'm glad we never got a British version. I'm glad they didn't decide to not air the US
I don't
ones.
even know if we had one, but we all know that when you try and replicate something, you can't capture lightning in a bottle twice. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Scott.
They actually tried to do that over here too. They did two offshoot versions of the commercial, and both of them, I don't want to say they failed, but they didn't catch on. One was, they called it the Jersey Guys, and you know the show The Sopranos? So it was a bunch of guys in a bar that were like Sopranos types of characters without, you know, being too stereotypical. And they were saying to each other, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And then there was one with yuppies. What were they saying? Oh, what are you doing? And what are you doing? And so they tried to, you know, yeah, exactly. And that's about what the public did too. So, I mean, no offense to those guys. I actually thought the yuppies were pretty funny. The guys that they hired to do it are comedians who I think they're much more prominent now than they were at the time. You see them in television shows and stuff like that all the time now. But they were pretty funny. The other guys, so they just never caught on like ours did. But Anheuser-Busch tried to branch off and do other characters, and it didn't work.
Kind of like a Wassup, like extended universe, you know. So really were ahead of their time.
Well, I'll say something controversial, but they were catching a lot of flack for their flagship beer being represented by 4 black guys.
Catching flack in what sense? Like from who? In what direction?
Lots of distributors and customers in the Midwest and the South.
Okay.
I had a couple of experiences myself with that, which I don't want to get into, but
of course
they were catching a lot of flack with that, which I think was the catalyst for them trying to spin off into these other characters, and trying to, you know.
Yeah. Dang. I mean, you know, it's a shame too, after having the confidence to go with what they did and how successful it was. It's kind of it's sort of.
Here's the thing. It was originally intended to spearhead a new advertising campaign in the urban market. That's all it was intended to do.
Really?
Because it's pretty well known that Budweiser isn't very popular in the black community. Like, it's just not a beer that, you know, black folks drink or people of color drink. So this was intended to spearhead their urban campaign. And Anheuser-Busch was caught completely off guard when it blew up as much as it did and became popular with, let's say, folks who go to hockey games, folks who go to baseball games, you know, and not just folks who watch the NFL and basketball, you know. So they didn't know what to do, and they had to scramble to try and figure out what to do with the campaign, and it got away from them. It really did. It caught them by surprise and got away from that. It became as mainstream crossover popular as it did. And I heard this from Anheuser-Busch executives.
Wow.
So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff.
I guess is there a positive to take away from that where most people are like right on enough that they just liked the ad for what it was, and that any sort of
the majority.
Yeah, right. Like that's kind of how I might try and look at it in a more positive sense, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. But you know, there's always the vocal minority that people.
Unfortunately, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they weren't able to spin it off into anything else because they couldn't do anything better than the original and best.
No.
So
you're damn right.
Well, Scott, before we move into your picks, I do have one final question for you. And do you actually like Budweiser?
Never drank a Budweiser in my life.
Good man.
No, and I'm not being I'm not being sarcastic. I've never drank, but I've never drank. I've never drank alcohol in my life.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. I don't drink, and I'm not a sports fan. So all of my male friends are like, "What the F, man? You don't drink, You don't like sports, and now you're famous for both. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, that's acting.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the response. You just go, acting, darling, troll. Acting.
Massive troll. Gotcha.
Taking all the things you like, and I'm going to just do them myself and not actually care.
We were getting sitting in box suites at the Super Bowl and things like that, and they're like, oh. But so one of the things that they wanted us to do is, so they would send us to the national convention every year and various other conventions around the country and make appearances. That's actually what we spent most of our time doing, and that's probably how we made the majority of our money, was doing appearances for Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser. We're like, hey, when you're out on the convention floor, can you just have a bottle of Budweiser in your hand? And I'm like, yeah, sure, put Coca-Cola in it. And I got this speech where it's like, no, it can't be Coca-Cola because you don't understand. The Bush family, they will know the difference in color and consistency between Coca-Cola in the bottle and Budweiser in the bottle, and it will just be a big thing. And I said, all right, well, then I'm not holding anything. So I was like, you can either give me a bottle with Coca-Cola, because they wanted me to take sips from it every now and then. I was like, yeah, no, I don't drink, so I'm not doing that. So now you give me a Budweiser bottle with Coke in it, like, ooh, we can't do that. I was like, okay, well, then I'm not holding the bottle.
And you had you were in a position to just refuse to do that, and that was fine, right? Nice. I like it. That's good.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's good.
Is that what they put in your bottles on the when filming the commercials then?
No, those are real beers. But if you notice, we never drink. We never drink in any of the commercials. They're just in the shot. Yeah. Huh. Now, during Wasabi, they did switch up and put real wasabi on the plate one time and didn't tell me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And as a joke, they did a few takes where I had to take a little wasabi and eat it. And the real one was not very pleasant. But
yeah. What was the fake wasabi made of?
What did they use? They used something like mashed potatoes and with food coloring or something like that.
Well,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, wasabi sucks. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I am not a spicy food guy. I can't do spicy. Yeah. Oh.
I can go a little high, but
I think I'm in the minority here. Yeah. I love spicy foods.
And you do not look like a spicy guy, Chris. So that's very surprising.
Yeah, I do like a bit of heat, but not too much. There's a limit. Because I'm a chef by trade, so everyone I meet...
Oh, get out!
So the first thing I ask people is, do you like spicy food? And 9 times out of 10 in this country, nah, korma. And I'm like, oh...
The English are famed for not liking flavour in anything, so... bland and beige.
I did not say that. I did not say that. He said that. He means English. What is English cuisine, Chris?
Like Rich said, it's beige. Full of starch. It's a plate full of starch, basically, with a bit of sauce on top. And I'm not digging English cuisine. Come on, but my family is Irish and from Yorkshire, so both sides are extremely normal. And I just grew up liking nice, flavorful foods. I like Japanese spices and Mexican cuisine and stuff like that. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
so it's not all crumpets and spotted dick over here. We do have some interesting stuff going on.
Can somebody tell me what spotted dick is, please?
No, I cannot. I'm afraid, because I also don't know.
You have to use your imagination.
Hello? Hey, who? What's up? Nothing, B. Just watching the game, having a bud. What's up with you?
Nothing. Watching the game, having a bud.
True.
What's up? Yo, who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone.
Hello? What's that?
What's up? Yo, where's Dookie?
Yo, Dookie!
Yo.
What's that?
with that. Hold on. Hello? So what's up, B?
Watching the game, having a bud.
True.
Scott, you very kindly chose film TV picks for us before we started recording, and for your film, you chose the 1978 Superman film. What was it about the film that made you choose it?
I saw it when I was very young, and it affected me so profoundly that I still feel that today whenever I watch it. And I've maybe seen it 20 times. I just watched the, oh my God, I don't know how many cuts they have of it now. I think I watched the Donner cut last week, and I actually got emotional watching it.
Is that the new 4K box set that's just been released, is it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Is that new? I thought the Donner cut's a couple years old, though.
2005, I think the Donner cut was, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And sometimes it airs on cable. You can catch it here. Cable or streaming, you can catch. I think HBO Max has. They'll air it sometimes, and it's. I distinctly remember walking home. I caught the bus home, and then walking from the bus to my mom's house, looking up because, it's like, I thought a man could fly, and I was an avid comic book collector as a child. Still kind of am. I make that sound like, Pat, I'm too cool for that now. I was an avid comic book collector. So this was the first live action superhero film that I ever saw. And it was just so amazing. To this day, I see Richard Donner's Superman as the archetype for a superhero origin story. It wasn't completely faithful to the comic, but the changes that he made sense, and they added to the drama and the impact of the film. And it was just amazing for me to see, what I've been reading in the comic books live action up on the screen. Maybe it's just my childhood nostalgia or whatever, but I haven't seen anything since then that has come close to making me feel the way that movie felt when I saw it as a kid. And even now when I watch it, I think it still holds up. I mean, there's some cultural stuff in there that, doesn't hold up, but just as a movie, the pimp, we could that's that Soul-Kind sense of humor coming out. Because the later film, Superman 2, they really leaned heavy into the comedy aspect of it, which, I wasn't a huge fan of. A lot of slapstick stuff going on while Zod and his cronies were destroying Metropolis. But yeah, I just love that first one. I love the special effects, especially now that they've remastered it and corrected all of the, mistakes, because in the old one, there's some shots where Superman's costume is green because of the blue screen or green screen or whatever. And they've corrected all that. You can't see the cutouts and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I just love that movie. Just love that movie. I love the story of how they went searching for an unknown actor to play. Because, you hear all the stories about how they approached Sylvester Stallone and Clint Eastwood and Kirk Douglas, and you're like, what? That'd have been awful to play Clark Kent / Superman. And they went searching for this regular, and then this guy, he started, and just Christopher Reeve. Who's better than Christopher Reeve as both Clark Kent and Superman, the comic book character of Superman? He's so true to the core of the character in the books. I haven't seen anybody even come close. I know people love Cavill, and I don't hate Henry Cavill, but he can't hold a candle to Christopher Reeve, as far as I'm concerned. So,
I mean, whatever you think about Superman Returns, that's one thing I liked about Brandon Routh when they brought him in. He was similar in the sense that he was a complete unknown.
And they tried to get somebody that resembled Christopher Reeve, I feel. That young Brandon Routh, he kind of resembled that. Maybe he could have done a better job, but that movie was just so awful. It's so boring.
It's very slow, but I do love the music. John Ottman's music for Superman Returns, if you listen to it as a piece, is lovely.
I'll have to go back and do that because nothing about it is
Yeah,
sticking out of my head right now.
They made Lois
except for
Lane
Kevin
unlikable,
Spacey.
which was an achievement. So.
Oh my god! Yeah. I mean, Margot Kidder was a little annoying, but I actually met her at one of the Philadelphia Comic Cons.
Oh, awesome!
Wizard. I don't know if you guys remember Wizard magazine.
No.
It was a comic book magazine over here. They had a whole YouTube channel, Wizard TV, and they asked me to do some interviews at their. They have a Comic Con. They used to have Comic Cons all over the country, Wizard World Comic Cons, and
I know that one.
I got to know the owner, and so whenever they would come to Philly, I would go, and he asked me one year to do interviews for Wizard World TV, and I got to interview Margot Kidder, Billy D. Williams, Lando.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you speak to these people that you look up to, I guess, from films that you really adore, and then sometimes they cannot be the people that you were hoping them to be. But I assume that these guys were awesome. Billy
D's an old man, and he had a lot of old man qualities. He's just old and tired. So there was none of that charm there that day. Margot was just a little confused. Had to explain to her a couple times who I was and what I was doing. But she was nice. She was nice about it. She was friendly.
That's cool.
Yeah. Billy D's just a tired old man. At least he was that day.
Yeah, bless him.
He was that day. Yes, bless him.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the last movie where he just sat down through his entire scene?
It was the Rise of Skywalker, wasn't it? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't great in that film, but you could tell that he had a real good time. So it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, back to Christopher Reeve, and I totally agree with what you say. Like, he's the quintessential Superman for me as well. Like, no one else has kind of come close to portraying him as well or as fondly for me as Christopher Reeve did, and he kind of just nailed the role perfectly.
Nailed it.
Still does now. Like you mentioned, Henry Cavill and all. I'm not. I mean, Rich is a bit of a fan of Man of Steel, but I didn't really enjoy that film either. And I'm quite excited for James Gunn's new Superman Legacy, is it called, or something? Film, just to hopefully bring Superman back to the.
I hope. I have faith in Gunn simply because of his track record.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I've got a big connection to the original Superman movies because they're always on every holiday season. Every Easter, every Christmas, every summer holidays, you turn the TV on one afternoon and Superman's on. I watched for years, recording off our TV on VHS, the TV edit, which cuts a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
Now, until I bought the DVDs in 2001, 2002, I had a Superman 1 and 2 box set, a lovely satin black one. That had the full uncut version, and I remember sitting there going like, this is amazing. Why have I not seen it? Because by removing all of those slow bits, you lose the character arc of that whole movie. And then when I watched it in full, was it like 2 hours 15 minutes or 2 hours 20, something like that? I was like, most of the Kent Farm stuff has been cut out. Most of the childhood...
Oh, wow!
Yeah. So you only get a few scenes here and there of him and Martha at the Kent home, and as he's a kid, and when his dad dies and stuff like that. But a lot of the filler stuff was just removed from our UK TV versions, which I was unaware of until I watched the DVD about 20 years ago, and
That's crazy.
Remember being so blown away of how the structure of the film was done, and how, like you said, it was the first superhero movie and Richard Donner is responsible for this, to stand there and go, we're going to take this seriously, and we're going to produce it and perform it seriously. It's not going to be a joke, it's just going to be a straight, serious, dramatic adaptation, and without that, we wouldn't have the behemoth of superhero movies we have today. Has anyone read Christopher Reeve's memoirs?
No.
Anyone who's a fan of Christopher Reeve, or anything in general, he wrote 2, Still Me, and there was a follow-up, a short memoir. They are beautiful books. And I remember reading it, and I remember, was it my friend or one of my relatives, like, is that not depressing? I said, why would it be depressing? And they said, well, he had a bad accident off the horse and stuff like that. And I was like, no, this was written a few years before he died, and it's the most uplifting, amazing autobiography you could ever read. Even if you can find an audiobook, seriously, you finish it and you feel a buzz that even through his darkest days, that guy loved life and he loved people and he was a believer in people and he loved everyone he was with. It's probably one of my all-time favourite autobiography reads. He takes you through all the hard times, the hospital times, the therapy, and never once do you close a chapter and think, well, that's depressing. Never. That guy just had such a humanity to him that even in his darkest days was still there. And great friends with Robin Williams as well, and they had a lovely friendship.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's right.
They went to Juilliard together.
Were they roommates at one point?
Yeah.
Wow.
In Christopher Reeve's autobiography, he actually says that the dean of the college or university at Juilliard was saying, you're going to go wonderful places, Chris. You're going to go to amazing places. He said, who's that gremlin elf guy you hang around with? He's not going to go anywhere. He was talking about Robin Williams. And look what happened there.
You hear that, you hear so many celebrities talk about that kind of thing, though, that people that told them at some point in their life that, they didn't have it, they were never going to make it, get out of the business.
But it's, I implore anyone to try and get a hold of that book and listen to it. It's just such a lovely, lovely autobiography.
I've always admired that about him, that he did not let his accident stop him from doing anything that he wanted to do. And the wife also, she was just as big a humanitarian as he was. She was right there with him through all of it. And it was just so bizarre that she passed away so soon after he did. He had a great partner in her in doing all of the humanitarian stuff that he did. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Christopher Reeve. He's just like one of the most beloved people in Hollywood. Still, like to this day, you haven't heard any stories come out about him since he's passed away. Everybody loved Christopher Reeve.
And if there were any stories, like, they would have come out,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially in this day and age and this climate that we live in. Yeah.
True.
I gotta say, Superman, I hope I could be forgiven for this, but Superman generally is kind of a blind spot for me, and I don't know that I've ever watched that original film. It sounds like I should, I guess.
Yeah, where's the kick button on here?
Jason, disconnect him now.
Hey, man. I'm just admitting something. I thought this was a safe space. I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing safe about this space.
Steve actually really wants to see the Nicolas Cage film that never came out, Superman Lives. So, big fan, Steven, of that film. That never happened.
What did you say?
The Superman Lives. So have you seen that footage of the costume fitting for Nicolas Cage? The long hair and horrific.
Could you imagine,
the shiny suit?
Yeah, and the suit lit up as well, didn't it? It had inner lights and stuff like that. Yeah. But could you imagine the trajectory of superhero films if that film was ever made? What films we would have these days? I don't think the current superhero mega lift thing would be a thing. I just don't think it would be. Would have killed it off.
Because Hollywood does that thing where if a movie fails, they assume that nobody wants to see anything in that genre. But you ever see the Saturday Night Live skit where Nicolas Cage was hosting and he kind of made fun of the whole Superman casting thing?
Yeah, I think.
Oh.
Don't think so. I have to look that up.
You have to. I wouldn't be able to do it justice to try and tell you. But I just, the one part where Lois is catching on to his secret identity. And they have him like opening a drawer and pulling out a gun because he's going to kill.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I like when a celebrity is self-deprecating and they can make fun of themselves.
Definitely.
That's pretty awesome. If you go on The Simpsons or Saturday Night Live and you make fun of yourself, you're okay in my book.
Absolutely. Scott, let's get into your TV pick. And which TV show did you pick?
I picked a whole bunch of stuff. It was like all the Japanese stuff. It was like Space Giants, Ultraman, Johnny Sacco and his flying robot, Speed Racer, Astro Boy, like that stuff. And I don't know if did you guys get that stuff? I don't even know how old you guys are. I'm old.
I've never watched any of what you've mentioned.
No, it was never on my radar.
Steve is like, what language is he speaking right now?
Although not a film, although not a TV series, it was a film. But I did watch Shin Ultraman. That was pretty awesome. The new one.
Okay, yeah. I watched the original TV series that came from. Over here, we have these things called UHF channels.
Yeah, I'm only aware of those because of Weird Al. So we know that UHF.
The Weird Al film, yeah.
Exactly. That's a great reference. That's a good reference point. So yeah, and UHF channels are usually the local channels. So you have the big networks, but then you'll have a little, like Philadelphia has several local channels, and they've all been co-opted in the last 20 years by these big syndicated networks. But back in the day, it just used to be some local TV station would own it and run it. And so they used to buy these packages of TV shows to put on the air. And there came this time in America where all these packages of Japanese kids shows flooded the American syndicated market, So you could be this 8-year-old kid in America and come home from school and turn on like these old, some of them were in black and white. That's how old they were. These old Japanese animated shows and live action shows. What are they called? Kaiju shows. So you had Ultraman, who was this space being who would come down and fight these giant monsters that would attack Tokyo or whatever city it was. It was all on the heels of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Godzilla became popular, and then all of this whole genre of kaiju television shows became popular. Space Giants. I forget the Japanese name of Space Giants, but it was a family of transforming robots, the first transforming robots. Goldar and his wife and their son, and they had this guy Methuselah who kind of, I don't know what Methuselah's role was, to control them or guide them or something like that. And same thing, they would fight this space villain named Rodak, who would send giant monsters down to Earth to destroy cities on Earth. And the Space Giants would come and blow them up with rockets and things like that. So it was just a lot of giant robot, giant superheroes fighting giant monsters in these miniature sets of Tokyo and various things like that. That was water cooler television when I was a kid. Like, if you missed the episode of Ultraman that played that day and you got to school the next day and you didn't see it, you were odd man out. Like, everybody would be talking about that episode and you're like, what? Wait, what? So yeah, you had to see that stuff. Then there were the animated things from like Toei, like Speed Racer, which they made a live action film based on a few years ago, which is pretty faithful to the cartoon, actually in a weird way. Tobar the Eighth Man, who was this robot, things like that. So I know I'm doing a really poor job of describing them.
Not at all.
It was just this whole glut of Japanese animated and live action shows that were on syndicated when I was a kid.
So I'm looking at pictures of Space Giants, and it looks rad as hell. I think the Japanese title is Ambassador Magma.
That's it.
Wow.
Which is a pretty good title.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Yes. Because he would come out of a volcano. That was his, whenever he was needed, there was a special signal that they would send out, and as a rocket, he would come shooting out of a volcano and come to wherever the big monster was.
Television was nowhere near this interesting when I was a kid over here.
Yeah, I think really the nearest thing we had growing up was when all the like Super Sentai shows came out, like when they basically Power Rangers, Masked Rider, which was, I forget the Japanese titles now.
Oh, you had Masked Rider? Sorry? Kamen Rider?
That's it, Kamen Rider in Japan.
Masked Rider, Kamen Rider? Ooh, you had that? We never had that.
Yeah, but we obviously had it all like it was the American packaged version sold to the West with all the American actors and all the little inserts. You had the Japanese footage, but they basically build an American show around it. So that's the nearest we got. Okay. We had that and like VR Troopers. I don't know what that was in Japan, but that was the nearest thing we got. I don't think we got exposed to all these really awesome sounding shows that you had growing up.
No.
Yeah, such is British television.
Yeah. Rosie and Jim is just not really the same, is it?
No.
Our country's stuck in the 1940s, and it takes us years to get a hold of anything. And when we do, it's out of date.
When I was a kid, I watched a show called Rosie and Jim, which is about two puppets that live on a canal barge, and one of them's French. So,
that sounds exciting.
Wasn't the French one Tots TV?
Oh, was that Tots TV? Am I getting two things mixed up? No.
Was one of Rosie and Jim French?
I
don't remember that.
Who knows?
The important thing is neither one of them turns into a massive robot and destroys
No,
Tokyo.
exactly. And destroys a city. No.
Exactly.
Neither one of them flies out of a volcano.
Correct.
No. It would have been a much better show. So.
Just had a wooden duck that would go
and occasionally turn its head.
I mean, that's something. Was what's his name British? The puppets, the marionettes,
Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds.
Oh, amazing.
Captain Scarlet. And was he British?
Yeah.
Him and his wife?
Mm-hmm.
They were British, but they gave all of their characters American identities for some reason.
Well, I mean,
international sales.
Growing up in this country, hearing American accents on TV made the TV show cool.
It did.
That's why they did that.
It did.
Yeah, it was Captain Scarlet, Thunderbirds,
Stingray.
That weird Terrorhawks thing that he did. That was just that's some odd shit.
Yeah,
that's some trippy shit.
Well, that's all the time we have this week. A massive thank you as always for everyone joining us. If you would like to donate to the show, then please visit our coffee page where you can show your support, starting from just £1. You can find a link in the show description or on our website. If that's not right for you right now, then you can always support us by giving us a review or rating on your platform of choice, or share our social posts. And if you're listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss an episode. Check out our website where we have articles, game reviews, our entire back catalogue of episodes and much more at thewolfiepod.com. Thanks guys for your encouragement. I appreciate
You're welcome.
That was all Scott, not us.
Chat. But chat, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
What's that?
What's it?
Wow.
This is so surreal.
I mean, if anyone's listening that don't actually know what the joke is on that, then,
So we have to release the video version now, otherwise it's just fucked.
We're not showing people my fucking bedroom. We're not releasing the video. I haven't made the bed, Jason. You can't put this out.
Such a Steve move, making his bed.
But Steve very funnily just tagged his video with STEEEV. So so,
and now Scott has been pronouncing it correctly. Episode. So credit to him. None of you fuckers ever pronounce it correctly.
He is the Steve.
It's bringing me a lot of joy, I can't tell you.
Well, on that note, my name has been Jason, and you've been listening to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a retro podcast to the max. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Janelle, what's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.